This is the newsroom for today, Tuesday, November 24, 2020. We're broadcasting to you on E1, Scar TV, NTN, and Tarsi TV in Partica. In the headlines, Guyana and Suriname have finalized two new agreements, one of which includes the construction of the Corentyne River Bridge.
The bridge will serve as a permanent physical link between the people of Guyana and Suriname.
A mother of 7 is busted at the Chedijagan International Airport with cocaine. Minister of Home Affairs Robeson Ben says there is high-level corruption at the Lusignan prison, which includes prison officers. And in sport, national table tennis player Miguel Wang eager to impart newfound knowledge after high-performance training in Germany. With the news, I'm Avinash Ramzan. Thanks for joining us. We started by telling you that two new agreements were finalized between Guyana and Suriname on Tuesday. One of the agreements now pushes the proposed construction of the Corentyne River Bridge forward, while another seeks to enhance dialogue between the two countries. Kurt Campbell reports.
President Irfan Ali continues to push for better cooperation between Guyana's neighbor Suriname in an ongoing official visit to the country amid its 45th independence anniversary, where he's engaged in talks with President Chandraika Santokhi. The two leaders on Tuesday finalized agreements to advance the proposal for the construction of a new bridge across the Corentyne River and establish a new mechanism for enhanced dialogue and cooperation. The two agreements were signed at the Presidential Palace in Paramaribo by Guyana's Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, UTUD, and his Surinamese counterpart, Minister of Foreign Affairs, International Business and International Politics, Albert Ramdin. President Ali, during a press briefing before the signing, said the new agreement signaled a transition from the old to the new era in Guyana-Suriname relations. He said that Guyana and Suriname both being small border nations, it was important to maintain good neighborly relations and form strategic alliances to achieve development aspirations. The Guyanese head of state believes the Corentyne River Bridge, once completed, opens up great possibilities for trade and cross-border cooperation.
Once constructed, not if constructed, the bridge will serve as a permanent physical link between the people of Guyana and Suriname. But more importantly, that link to the rest of South America continent. We recognize the enormous benefits that this can bring in the areas of tourism, transportation, and trade. To this end, we have even expanded our discussion in areas where we can jointly promote business opportunities and tourism opportunities for both countries.
President Ali explained too that the framework for dialogue and cooperation provides a guide for future cooperative efforts.
We expect that the joint working groups will meet expeditiously, as President Santokhi said, beginning just after this press briefing, to agree and activate their work program. I would like to take this opportunity to elaborate on some of the other issues which were discussed. In the area of transportation, in view of critical role the ferry service plays in the movement of goods and people, we have agreed that issues affecting the resumption of the ferry should be urgently resolved.
President Ali said the two countries have shared challenges, threats and circumstances, but he's confident that with the shared opportunities ahead, these will be confronted through greater cooperation. Kurt Campbell, Newsroom.
We tell you now that a 42-year-old Guyanese mother of 7 is in police custody after she was reportedly busted at the Chedijagan International Airport on Monday with 1.948 kilograms or 4 pounds of cocaine concealed in a book, her makeup, personal items and stationery. A report from the Customs Anti-Narcotics Unit, KANU, noted that Tommy Ann Burnbury, a food vendor, was an outgoing passenger booked to travel on a flight destined to JFK, New York via Eastern Airlines. She traveled from Suriname to Guyana recently to embark on the flight. According to KANU, the officer conducted a search on 2 suitcases, her carry-on piece and a number of objects, including a hardcover book, handbag, makeup kits, deodorants, nail polish covers, mascara and permanent markers, when whitish substances suspected to be cocaine emanated from the said objects. She was arrested and taken to KANU pending investigations. KANU said Bunbury is a food vendor in Paramaribo, Suriname, and she allegedly resides at Condor Street in Paramaribo. She is also of Lot 10 Victoria Road, Plaisance, on the east coast of Demerara. KANU said, and I quote, She allegedly has been living in Suriname for the past 6 years and periodically returns to Guyana to fulfill immigration obligations. End quote. What goes for the goose goes for the gander, were the words of Chief Justice Acting Roxanne George as she presided over arguments put forward by Attorney General Anil Nandlal and Attorney Mayo Robertson on an application to strike out the elections petition of the APNU AFC coalition. Robertson argued that Nandlal violated an order of the court when he filed the application, but the Chief Justice contends that he too violated the order. The Chief Justice made clear that if she is to strike out the application, then she will also have to strike out Robertson's submissions. More from Kurt Campbell.
The filing of an application by Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs Anil Nandlal to strike out the second elections petition 9920 of the APNU-AFC coalition attracted strong refutation from Attorney at Law Mayor Robertson. During the continuation of the case management conference on Tuesday, Robertson, who is appearing for the defendant, argued that the application should be struck out because the Attorney General did not follow an order of the court made by Chief Justice Acting Roxanne George. He pointed out that the order specifically asked only for submissions to be made and contended that the Attorney General went off on a frolic of his own to file an application which asked for a dismissal of the petition based on effective service made on former President David Granger. Robertson also argued that the AG was forcing the court to hear the application on November 24 when November 30 has been set aside to address the issue of late service on Granger. He also contended that the Attorney General approached the court by the wrong method, filing a notice of application when he should have filed a summons. Robertson would later give up on that reasoning when told by the Chief Justice that his reasoning was untenable.
I have made a distinction between what we're asking for here and the other situations.
Well, Mr. Robertson, I don't see the distinction, and I've said so. There is absolutely no distinction. I don't agree with you.
I'll be guided by the court, Your Honor.
So if you maintain this application, then we will have to go back to the other applications that you made that were not made by summons.
Your Honor, in the circumstances, I will not pursue the application on that basis, on the basis of non-compliance with the rules, but I'll pursue it on the basis that it was not authorized by the court's order.
But even when proceeding with his argument that Nandlal deviated from the order of the court, Robertson also faced some pushback. Nandlal, in explaining the reasons for filing the application, said that while he acknowledged that he exceeded what the court asked him to do, he did in fact have a right to file the application, since he is the Attorney General. Nandlal said he did not need the leave or permission of the court to file the application, although it had asked only for submissions on an observation already made by the court.
Now, I have no difficulty, Your Honor, if the court is prepared to rule that I have approached the court by the wrong procedure, that's fatal, and then certainly one of the petitions will go, or actually all of them will have to go. Because inherent in all two are applications in which the same CPR procedures were utilized. As the judges say, Your Honor, one cannot approbate and reprobate.
While the hearing was adjourned to November 30, when the application will be heard fully along with whether Granger is a necessary party, the Chief Justice told Robertson on Tuesday that what goes for the goose will also have to go for the gander. She claimed that Robertson also violated her order and submitted voluminous documents that has already been filed and which the order asked not to be filed again. Robertson was quick to apologize, but Justice George emphasized that if he proceeds with that argument, then she can strike out his submissions similarly.
Very well, Mr. Robertson, and similarly, in your submissions, you were not supposed to attach all the documents that have already been filed, but you did.
Your Honor, I believe the two things are
No, it's the same court order. You were saying everyone must obey the court's orders, and that is so. But what goes for the goose will have to go for the gander. And you have produced what I consider to be voluminous submissions by adding documents that have already been filed with the court. In two of your submissions, you have reproduced all the affidavits that you filed. And I said, do not do that. Because all I have is a mountain of paper That is unnecessary.
I apologize, Your Honor. The intention was to make it easy for the court.
It's not easier, it's harder.
Already, the attorney for Barajagdio, Trinidadian Senior Counsel Andrew Mendez, has said that he intends to argue that Granger is a necessary party in the case. He said this question is also relevant when the issue of service is examined. Mendez said if the court decides that Granger is not a necessary party, then he will be struck out only from the proceedings when defective service is established. But if the court decides that he is a necessary party, as Mendez intends to argue, then the entire petition will need to be struck out. The interested parties will further ventilate these points when the case management continues on November 30. Kurt Campbell, Newsroom.
When the newsroom returns, Minister of Home Affairs Robeson Ben says there is high-level corruption at the Lusignan prison, which includes prison officers. Stay tuned. This is the Newsroom. The Minister of Home Affairs Robeson Ben is perturbed at the high level of corruption found at the Lusignan prison on the east coast of Demerara, involving numerous prison officers, most of whom have either been fired or transferred. Minister Ben told reporters on Monday that the inmates at the Lusignan facility are threatened and targeted by prison officers who demand money from them. It was found that corruption at the Lusignan prison significantly increased after prisoners were transferred there following the deadly fire at the Camp Street prison in March 2016.
The issues of people escaping from the prisons has to do with poor administrative issues at the prison. There are issues of corruption at the level of the prison officers. We have been firing prison officers for smuggling in ganja, rum, vodka, whiskey, cigarettes. There are issues of them making knives and so on there. And so searches have to be conducted regularly. There are issues of some prisoners being held to ransom from the prison itself, that they have cell phones. A couple of them will hold on to some unfortunate person who perhaps has money or from whom money could be extorted, and they will take a picture or a video and put knives to his throat and say, pay money to us or whom or else. All of that is going on in the prison. So we've spoken about the road safety issue, and it's very bad. And in relation to the security issues and the safety related to the prisoners and the prisons, it's even worse. It's mostly happening at Lusignan. You might recall that at the prisoners who were in Georgetown, when they burned to Georgetown, they were removed to Lusignan. There's a smaller holding capacity at Georgetown, but the problem, well, maybe they've carried on some of these things to bad practices to Lusignan.
The Lusignan prison has seen its fair share of escapes over the past few years, along with the illegal smuggling of drugs and other prohibited items. In an effort to ensure the safety and security of the prisoners there, Ben noted that by January 2021, the Mazaruni prison extension should be completed, and within a few months, construction at the Camp Street prison is slated to conclude. This will allow for the transfer of prisoners from Lusignan to reduce overcrowding. Now, the Guyana Sugar Corporation, Guysuco, under the leadership of Sesnarayan Singh as the Chief Executive Officer acting, has begun to service its debts. Guysuco on Monday made a payment of $123 million to the National Insurance Scheme, NIS, reflecting payment for 2 months of outstanding contributions that were not made. Singh said the corporation intends to pay every month for 2 outstanding months to get rid of the backlog by June 2021. Guysuco still has a remaining $475 million left to pay to NIS. NIS had threatened to take Guysuco to court over the outstanding debt. The corporation is also swamped in debt to local and regional banks and the Guyana Revenue Authority, GRA. The CEO said that the corporation is seeking to ensure all its stakeholders receive monies owed to them. Singh said the corporation's debt stands at over $50 billion.
Guysuco has lots of debts. Totally. Well, depending on who you talk about, if it's debts to our principal shareholders, then it's sizable. But it's over $50 billion if you include our shareholders. But we have engaged all our trade creditors in a session, and we have basically started to service our current debt aggressively. Between September to now, Guysuco has paid off it's 60 to 90 days portion of the debt. And we're now working on the 30 to 60 days portion. We're trying to catch up with NIS because it's extremely important that Gaisuku be up to date with NIS because of the implication with the workforce. Only today, Gaisuku paid 2 additional months to catch up, and we're planning to do that every month, 2 additional months until all the backlog are gone. Our target to get rid of the backlog is by June 2021. So by June 2021, when we do a payroll, NIS is paid at the same time.
We tell you now that an audit being conducted in the Guyana Police Force inventory has so far uncovered 150 missing firearms. The Minister of Home Affairs, Robson Ben, told reporters on Monday that every effort will be made to ensure those responsible for the missing firearms are dealt with accordingly.
We had heard of it that they were missing firearms. We requested an audit. Astonishingly, a number of 150 firearms are missing or more. We are angry at this because it appears that every now and again the police will capture someone with a firearm and the numbers are filed off. And we believe that the source of these firearms may actually be in the police armory. Can you believe that? So we are dealing with this matter and we'll work at making those accountable who are responsible for this travesty. An audit is not completed just yet. I don't have the report as yet, and I'm sure the recommendations and the identifications of persons will be made in that audit report.
And despite an alarming increase in COVID-19 cases in the small indigenous community of Superuta in Region 6, Minister of Health Dr. Frank Anthony says a lockdown is not necessary at this time. But the village council has restricted movement in the community and is not allowing anyone to leave or enter. Dr. Anthony, in his daily COVID-19 update, noted that a medical team will remain in Superuta until the situation is under control. Superuta has recorded 1 COVID-19 death.
Well, right now, we have done a lot of testing in Superuta and Oriala, and we are getting back those results. As of today, we have identified at least 35 positive cases in Superuta, and we'll continue to monitor the situation there. We have sent in a medical team over the last couple of days. They have been doing swabbing for the community, and we'll keep a medical presence on the ground. We have been working with the village council to ensure that people understand how they need to comply and so forth. And I think so far we have been getting a lot of cooperation in terms of the villagers complying. The only thing we haven't done is to lock down the community, but I think among themselves they have decided to restrict movements of the persons who have, people within the community in Superuta. There have been discussions in the village council about a possible lockdown, and at this point we don't think that is necessary, but I think among the villagers they have already started to discuss this. What we have advised them medically is for those persons who we have identified as being positive, that they isolate themselves. And I think they are complying with that, and the medical team on the ground has been talking to them to ensure that this happens. But so far we have been working with the region, Region 6, and our focus has been more on the medical side of things to ensure that we have a good medical response, that we are able to do the testing, that we have enough medication at the health center, and so forth. So far, our efforts have been in that direction.
When the newsroom returns, the government is working to install sound signals at the traffic lights to assist persons who are visually impaired, and a bill is before Cabinet to remove jail time for the possession of small quantities of marijuana. This is the newsroom. The government is working on new initiatives to improve the free flow of traffic in Georgetown. As such, the Minister of Public Works, Juan Edgel, revealed that traffic lights will now include acoustic signals for the visually impaired. The government has already priced the technology for this initiative and will also improving the sidewalks in the city to cater for the visually impaired. Program Coordinator of the Guyana Council of Organizations for Persons with Disabilities, Ganesh Singh, has praised the initiative.
Persons with a visual impairment have to depend on a public-spirited citizen to assist them when crossing streets in Georgetown or take the chance and cross alone. A new initiative is hoping to change this, as traffic lights in Georgetown will include song signals which will let these persons know when it is safe to cross. The Ministry of Public Works has already engaged the Guyana Society for the Blind and is working on having the project rolled out soon. Subject Minister Juan Edgel spoke about the project at an event at Parliament Park on Monday.
We are working assiduously, maybe not at all traffic lights, but especially at the main intersections, to put in, along with the light that changes, special songs so that the blind will know it is time to cross on the pedestrian crossing. So we are working on implementing that. We have already done some research and pricing the technology.
Program Coordinator of the Ghana Council of Organizations for Persons with Disabilities, Ganesh Singh, in a telephone interview with the Newsroom on Tuesday, praised the project. Singh explained that the meeting with the ministry also pinpointed the high traffic areas that persons with a visual impairment would normally use. These include Avenue of the Republic, High and Dorban Streets, and Brickdam and Regent Streets.
So it's something that we're very excited about, and we're looking forward to the implementation, and then once it's effective, we hope for it to roll out in other areas.
What specific areas are you looking at?
Avenue Republic and High Street, like the junctions, Regent and Avenue, Robin Avenue, those areas, because the Guyana Society for the Blind is located on High and Dorban, that area there. So like the Hatfield and High Street traffic lights, Breakdown and Avenue, those areas, because blind persons will come from the bus park and they need to walk those areas.
Meanwhile, the Ministry of Public Works also conducted an inspection of sidewalks in the city and has observed that store owners and businesses have made alteration for their benefit. This will be corrected, according to Minister Edgel, to cater for persons with a visual impairment. Reporting for the Newsroom, I am Isanella Patwo.
With just 2 persons in prison for the possession of under 30 grams of marijuana, the government is likely to remove jail time for more than that amount. Attorney General Anil Nandlal said the bill is before Cabinet, where the quantity is under discussion. He made this disclosure on Monday during a press conference on the Inter-American Development Bank-funded Justice Reform Project, which seeks to reduce overcrowding in the prisons.
We made a manifesto promise that we will remove custodial sentence from small quantity of marijuana. A bill is currently before Cabinet, and the issue is that is under review is the quantum. The matter is still under review. But in principle, we are, as a government, committed to remove custodial sentences from persons who are found with possession of small quantity of marijuana. It does not mean that it will not constitute an offense. It will still remain a criminal offense, but it will not carry custodial sentence as a penalty.
The former government in July 2019 approved the proposal to remove custodial sentences for persons found to be in possession of 30 grams or less of marijuana. On Monday, the Director of Prisons, Gladwin Samuels, disclosed that 2 persons are in prison for 4.5 and 27.4 grams of marijuana. He noted that all other persons in prison for possession of narcotics were found with larger amounts of the illegal substance. There is a considerable speculation about what the policies of the new administration in the United States will mean for Guyana and the Caribbean. 4 final-year international relations students from the University of Guyana sat down with Newsroom's Kurt Campbell recently to discuss the possibilities under a Joe Biden-Kamala Harris administration.
I'm cautiously optimistic about what lies ahead for us with our relations with the U.S. Biden and Harris, like Chelsea said, seem to be very progressive, but it is too early to tell. but the progressiveness is what we're looking for in the region. It spells the potential for not just Guyana, but for the entirety of CARICOM to put something together in terms of their push for climate change, in terms of the push for a better regional response to health and education and security. So I'm very hopeful, again, cautiously optimistic in seeing what lies ahead for us, but it looks to be a brighter future.
Biden, well, I can recall when he was vice president, I believe it was in 2015, he was speaking about energy security in the Caribbean. So that's a topic I'm really excited about. He spoke about the U.S. Virgin Islands. They would have integrated renewable energy with propane. They were able to reduce energy costs by 30%. St. Lucia with their geothermal energy. He also spoke about Jamaica, the former OPIC. Well, it's now the DFC. They would have disbursed, I believe it was $90 million US to Jamaica for their renewable energy. So Guyana, we're trying to do our the hydropower. I still believe that'll be a point of discussion going forward. But in terms of greater cooperation on climate change, the promotion of renewable energy, I believe it's something that Guyana can look forward to, the Caribbean can look forward to, and it's exciting things to come.
And it's quite too early to say what exactly will happen, but we know in the area of trade and businesses that they will continue to push, and with them pushing, that means more investments for Guyana. The economy would be able to grow, but the question that you would have to ask yourself, no one will invest without expecting returns. So we need, in negotiations, when our ministers are negotiating, they would need to negotiate, for, let's say, for better pay for Guyana so that Guyana don't become a slave camp, or we don't fall into the money trap, as we've been hearing with China and other countries. So I would say that trade and economies, it will boom, but from the government point of view, they need to put systems in place to ensure that Guyanese do not become second-class citizens in their own countries.
We know Harris as a colored woman, Jamaican and Indian, and it brings a lot of, what can I say, consolation for many of those that live in over there, the Guyanese that are living in the U.S. They see, I would, while researching, and even when the results were in for elections, many rejoiced because that was history made there. And for many are being persecuted for their race, their color of their skin, and that is a big issue in our world today, even in the U.S. Over there, we see people being discriminated for that. So we can look forward. I personally, you know, as each new government, we all should have faith.
You can join us on E1 Scar TV and on our Facebook page just after the news to view the full panel discussion on what the Biden-Harris win means for Guyana. When we return, the financial, weather and bridge reports along with sports. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Newsroom. Now for a look at what's happening in sport. We're starting off with some table tennis news. The 20-year-old national junior table tennis player Miguel Wang spent just over a year in Germany, engaged in high-performance training and some league matches. He returned earlier this month, eager to share his knowledge and become a professional player. Akim Green had a chat with Wang and filed this report.
The Germany experience started with uncertainty due to financial constraints, but benevolent members of the private sector allowed him to depart Guyana on September 27, 2019, for Berlin. He spent his first 3 months based in Eilenberg, where he played in the German league, after which he moved to the Topspin Center in Munich. Moving from minimal sessions in Guyana to full-time training, it was a culture shock.
It's been purely hard work. It's been like 6 hours a day, every day from Monday to Saturday. Only Sundays we get a day off. So we were training basically non-stop. Table tennis all the time. Eat, sleep, table tennis, because we always one center. So we play in the mornings, in the afternoons, and then we rest, and then we continue again. Well, at the beginning, it was the most challenging thing was the atmosphere, the higher climate, to get my stamina regular to it. That was the most challenging part. And then eventually, after 2-3 weeks of constant play, then it started to get regular. So it started to adjust and gameplay. For when I was here, I wasn't playing regularly, not every day, maybe 3 times per week. I was given the club. And over there, we played 2 times per day, every day. So that was one thing I had to be accustomed to. Because I wasn't basically focusing on table tennis. There, I was focused only table tennis, strictly table tennis, day and night. So that really elevated my game and helped me to go to another level.
With a reservoir of knowledge to gain from experienced coaches, Wong said he quickly worked to strengthen weak areas in his game. The constant training and match time has enthused him about a bright future.
Oh, my footwork and I needed to be lower. I needed to build my leg muscles. These had to improve, and these I was working on almost every day for the last year. My footwork, my strength, my mobility. I had to be more flexible. I had to have a lower center of gravity, and this is what we had to work on. Oh, I'm confident enough. I've trained with the Latin senior team from Argentina and Cuba, so I've been playing consistently for the past year because during the quarantine we were all in one facility, so we kept on training, and so I'm pretty confident in my ability.
Over the weekend, he held a camp at the Titans Table Tennis Club, where he shared some insights to the younger table tennis players.
Well, I want to show them certain drills that needed to improve their game. I wanted to show them the level of fitness needed to elevate their game. I want to show them certain strategic play, help them develop new shots that I learned, and overall try to build them their mental.
If there is a Junior Caribbean Championships next year, one would hope he can cop the under-21 title. Long term, he wants to earn from the racket sport and play at the highest level.
To play professionally in Europe, in leagues, and to earn money from it. That's the main goal and the long-term goal, to play over there, get signed to the good club, and continue to keep playing.
For the Newsroom, Akim Green.
We tell you now that local cyclists will have to wait a little longer for that planned second leg of the time trial series, which has been shifted to December 13 owing to unforeseen circumstances. More in this report. The race was originally carded for this weekend, November 29, and the shift in date means it would now become the final leg of the series, as the December 6 leg in Linden will go ahead as planned. Racing Secretary of the Guyana Cycling Federation, Malcolm Supernaam, said the route for the Berbice race remains the same. The race will start at 9 hours in front of Benjamin Sport and Fitness Center at Firish, proceed along the number 19 road and end at Guyol Gas Station at Palmyra. The contact person for this leg is Randolph Roberts on 628-8211. The race in Linden will also start at 9 hours at Amelia's Ward in front of KD&J Supermarket, then proceed to Melissa Hill and back. The contact person is Jeffrey Yearwood on 688-2995. The first leg was held on Sunday last from Sparendam to the Kitty Roundabout and back to the COVID-19 hospital at Liliandal. The experienced Marlon Fishy Williams was the fastest to complete the course, followed by Jamal John and Brighton John. 33 riders participated in the event. The Federation was granted permission by the relevant authorities to host the races, and during the opening leg, all cyclists were required to undergo a temperature test and face masks were made available. Reporting for Newsroom, I'm Avinash Ramzan. Cricket news now. Darren Bravo, the Test batsman, is a curious case. He performs far more credibly away from home than in the Caribbean. On the last tour to New Zealand in 2013, the left-hander made his highest Test score, 218. As the West Indies prepare to face the Black Caps in 2 Test matches in December, Bravo is hoping he can continue the trend of high scores away from home. Akim Green reports.
Bravo began the tour well with a century in the first warm-up match against New Zealand in Queenstown, and is expected to play a key role for West Indies in the 2 Test matches. His 135 was the highest individual score in the fixture against New Zealand A, which also served as a reminder of the stark difference in Bravo's batting home and away. He has played 29 tests at home for an average of under 27, but when he's not playing at home, that average shoots up to over 50. Only one of his 8 test hundreds have been scored at home, and Bravo's hoping the trip to New Zealand for his first test outside of the Caribbean since 2016 brings about a return to form too.
I can't really put a finger on exactly what is the reason for that. But if I do have to say, it's probably less distraction. When you're away from home, it tends to be a bit easier. I think the conditions as well helps you as a player. It all depends on your particular style of play. I enjoy batting. Every single time I get the opportunity, I try my utmost best to perform well for the West Indies cricket team. So, but for some reason, it tends to click for me more so when I'm away from the Caribbean. So let's hopefully that the good fortune continues this series.
West Indies will play a second warm-up fixture, a 4-day match from Wednesday, and the left-hander said his aim will be to spend more time in the middle.
Yeah, my goal for the next game, it's probably going to be a bit more challenging. I think they're probably going to change up their squad. I'm not sure, but at the end of the day, I just need to do what I am accustomed doing, give myself the best opportunity to get in, play to my strengths. Don't really worry about anything. Just enjoy my batting, take that responsibility. I think that's very important as well. I think when you take that level of responsibility, that will help your game as well. And obviously, if you do well, that will give the other batters confidence. So I'll try my best to do that and try my best to encourage each and every one.
As one of the senior members of the team, Bravo has been imparting batting tips to players, but is not chary about receiving advice in return, even from the younger set.
I try my utmost best to give advice as much as possible. I even take advice even from the youngest player. My goal and responsibility is always to do well for West Indies. At times it don't really happen, but it's always my intention. I believe when you give advice and you open up yourself to the other players, the other members of the team, that in itself will give you confidence, because there will be a situation where you might need some sort of help. That very same young player or senior player can come to you and say, you think you're doing this wrong. I think you could probably try this and stuff like that. So all in all, I think communication is very, very important. And not just talk the talk, but also walk the walk. So as a team, we have been trying to do that each and every step of the way. And, it's going to take a little time, but I believe it's about time that we get it right.
After the 4-day match, the side will turn attention to 3 T20s, which run from November 27th to the 30th, after which the 2-test series starts on December 3rd. For the newsroom, Akim Green.
And women's cricket will take center stage in the coming week as Cricket West Indies continues to unveil its plan to grow the game and create more opportunities for females who are keen to develop their skills and help increase participation in the sport at all levels. CWI will deliver a series of free events featuring several former players and administrators, which include an online women's foundation coaching course for over 80 present and past players, an interview series with special guests that explore the past, present and future of West Indies women's cricket, as well as several cricket development workshops held in Antigua. The aim of these initiatives is to engage, inspire and recruit more female players, coaches and course facilitators. CWI President Ricky Skerritt will briefly address the participants at the start of the virtual training session on Tuesday evening. In response to a question following his speech at a recent UE Frank Worrell lecture series, Skerritt promised that West Indies women's cricket would soon see an increased attention and focus, which he said should help vitalize women's cricket and strengthen the female cricketers' pathway from grassroots to the international stage. And Cricket West Indies will this week send a 2-member inspection team to Bangladesh to conduct a detailed assessment ahead of the scheduled ICC Future Tours Program Tour in January next year. The tour is scheduled to feature matches in both the ongoing ICC Test Match Championship and the ICC One-Day International Super League. More in this report. The recce will be conducted by Cricket West Indies Board Director Dr. Akshay Mansingh, who is a member of the Cricket West Indies and ICC's Medical Advisory Committee, and Paul Slow, Cricket West Indies Security Manager. While in Bangladesh, they will visit all the proposed facilities for the tour in both Dhaka and Chattogram, attend matches in the Bangabanu T20 Cup, and also get a first-hand look at the country's COVID-19 response protocols. Cricket West Indies Chief Executive Officer Johnny Grave said given that West Indies would be the first team to visit Bangladesh since the onset of the pandemic, the health and safety of the touring party is at the forefront of their minds. Grave added that the two-man team is highly experienced and capable of assessing the biosecure plans and protocols in Bangladesh. Grave said, and I quote, "Our respective medical and operations teams have held a number of positive meetings over the last few weeks, and following receipt of the report from our inspection team, a recommendation will be made to our board of directors on whether it is safe to tour Bangladesh early next year." End quote. The tour of Bangladesh would be the third tour for West Indies men's team since the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic. They are presently in New Zealand for 3 T20s, 2 Test matches and 2 A-team 4-day matches. Earlier this year, they visited England, where they played 3 Test matches in a biosecure environment, which marked a return to the game on the international stage. The West Indies women's team also toured England in September for 5 T20 internationals. And Ishant Sharma and Rohit Sharma have been ruled out of the first 2 Test matches of the upcoming 4 Test series in Australia, and their hopes of taking part in the last 2 Test matches hinges on swift and decisive action from the BCCI, ESPN Cricinfo has learned. To be in contention for the 3rd Test, Ishant, who has regained full bowling fitness but needs 4 weeks of workload to be ready for the rigors of Test match cricket, will have to board a plane almost immediately. The 14-day hard quarantine rule in Australia means he can start training only after 2 weeks, add another 4 weeks of preparatory training, and he can only be match ready for the 3rd Test starting on January 7 in Sydney. Rohit, who suffered a hamstring tear during the IPL, is understood to be a while away from full fitness. He can be cleared to travel only in the 2nd week of December and will need 2 weeks of further rehabilitation, after which a final assessment can be made. According to a BCCI functionary, Rohit would have had a better chance of featuring in the Test series had he flown directly to Australia with the other squad members from the United Arab Emirates. And with that, we've come to the end of the news for this evening. Of course, you can find updates on these and other stories on our website, Newsroom.gy, our Facebook page, and Instagram. On behalf of the entire news team, my name is Avinash Ramzan. Thanks for watching. Be safe. See you next time.